What's up, peeps and fellow geeks? The average end user here, and today I'm going to be getting all of this put together uh, so I can test out a card I just got in the mail. Here you see an RX, I believe that's a 480, and here we have, 490, and then here we have a 590. And I just got this one in the mail, so it's got to be tested out. So I figured I'd get this thing put together and go ahead and test it out. Okay, so here we have the cooler for the CPU. It's a older style Cooler Master 120mm AIO. It's all, just a self-contained liquid cooler. And I'm going to be changing this fan out. It's kind of old and dingy, and changing it out for this V-True ARGB 120 fan. Okay, I got the old fan off, and as you can see, this needs a little bit of a cleaning. Although it's not horrible, you can see through the radiator. So I'm gonna give this a little bit of a dusting and then get this fan installed. I'm also gonna check the orientation. You gotta make sure we put it in the right way so the cables are going in the right direction. So I gotta figure out where I'm going to put this in here. I'm not sure if it'll go on the backside and replace this. I don't think there's enough room. Be really tight with the I/O shield and motherboard. I'll have to check it out. If not, it can most likely go up here and not interfere with anything. Worst case scenario, pop a couple of these fans out and throw it up front. Alright, I got the fans switched out, and I do believe I'm going to go with this orientation back here. You got the cooler installed, and now it's time to get the motherboard in. These are the rest of the parts needed to prep the motherboard, install the CPU, and install the RAM, and then the motherboard is ready to go into the case. This is two separate kits of 4 gigabytes for a total of 16. I do believe there's very little difference between the two. It's like one letter on the module, or those two at the end. The BRL are different. But otherwise, I've already tested all this hardware. I know it works. So yeah, just keep going with it. Got the first set of modules installed, getting ready to put the second set in. Okay, all 4 modules are installed, and now it's time to install the processor. This is an older platform, AM3 Plus, and this is, I believe, a FX8320 processor. The lever is up. Line the triangle up on the CPU with the triangle on the board, and then you basically just let it drop. No pressure, nothing, it falls right into place. Push the lever down, CPU is installed. Luckily, the cooler we're using actually uses these clip brackets on here, so I will get some thermal paste and get ready to install the cooler once the motherboard is in the case. Okay, so 9 screws later, and the motherboard is installed. Eagle-eyed among you might notice that the fan is now missing. That's because the 8-pin connector is all the way back here. It would have been very difficult to plug it in, so it's just, 4 easy thumb screws. Fan pops right off. So I'm going to grab some thermal paste and get this cooler attached, and be right back. So a buddy of mine hooked me up with this stuff. GD66. Don't know how good it is. I mean, I've used it on modern CPUs, and it seemed to work just fine. So go ahead and get some in there. Should be good. Okay, got the cooler installed. I can put the fan back on. Get the power supply in here, and some drives, and yeah, get this stuff going. Get these, well, at least the 590 tested. I already know the 490 works. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, there have been a few changes. Everything is wired up. Fan is reinstalled. I stuck with the ketchup and mustard theme, just like I did with the Corsair Crystal. Sure, why not? Besides, I don't have any cable extensions. SSDs are installed. These are quite small and only temporary, but they're just currently all I have at the moment. I want to say this is a 60 gig and a 120 or vice versa. Very minimal cable management. Didn't even bother hooking the front fans up. It's not much point. I don't even think they work correctly. But yeah, let's get the last thing installed, which is this here 590, and fire this thing up. Alright, so installing a GPU is fairly easy. This is the PCI Express slot that it's going to go into. To make sure you remove the proper slot covers. There's usually a little retention tab right here, but as you can see, there is nothing here. Apparently it broke off. That shouldn't be an issue. The PC is not going to be moved around a whole lot. And it's just a matter of lining the card up with the slot. And giving it a push. Hopefully you're in the slot. I can't see what I'm doing. Alright, there's no click because there's no retention tab. I just have to keep an eye on it, make sure the back end doesn't pop out. Last thing I need to do is get a couple of screws in there and secure it. Hook some power to it, and we're off and running. Okay, got the GPU secured down with some screws. Got it all juiced up. Let's fire this thing up. Test this card. Minus the ketchup and mustard cables and the fact this is a micro ATX board in a mid-tower ATX case, still not aesthetically too bad. It's clean anyway. Alright, let's flip the switch and hit the button. Hey, we have things spinning and lights, that's good. Mash the delete key, try to get into the BIOS. Wonder if the TV is on the correct HDMI. I want to say it's in the BIOS and I'm on the wrong channel. Having the TV on the right channel helps. Here we are in the BIOS. Let me get Windows installed, a couple of games loaded up, and yeah, we'll see what she can do. So far, everything seems to be working just fine. I'm getting drivers installed, and yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, here we go, the finished project. I'm going to call this KM2, and this is going to be KM1. KM, you ask? People know. So I ran 3DMark times SPI on the basic, whatever the settings are, default, and this is the score that I got. Now these are scores for both Time Spy and Firestrike. Firestrike's a little bit older, but those aren't bad numbers, 4220. To put that in perspective, this machine has a 12-year-old platform, 12-year-old CPU, motherboard, and RAM essentially. The graphics card's from about 5 years ago. So that score of 4220 compared to my test bench, which is roughly 5 years old or so, as you can see, it's not that big of a difference, a little over 1,000 points, 1,500 points or so. That's quite a difference. I think that's pretty impressive. The next thing I'm going to do is I already have Diablo 4 installed, and I want to see how well this PC can play it. Stay tuned for that video.